Louisiana Legends is made possible by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana. This important program series enables us to discover, through the accomplishments of our fellow Louisianians, the unique character of a state so proudly served by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana for 65 years.
Robert Crais is going to hear himself called something that I bet he's never been called before. He's Gus Weill's version of an American hero. He's a guy who dreamed about writing. That's what he wanted to do. Native of Baton Rouge. And guess what he did? Went to Los Angeles, California, where he's become one heck of a writer. Novels, screenplays, teleplays. He's in demand. He's a man very much on his way. Bob, welcome home.
Thanks a lot, Gus. It's great to be here.
What's the origin of this writing business in you? Because it starts differently for each person.
I think I've always been in love with telling stories, with stepping through a doorway of imagination into another reality. I think that's a typical Southern thing, though, Gus. We're all born storytellers down here. Yeah.
Were you a big reader?
Huge reader, voracious reader. Read anything. Novels, comic books, magazines. I love to read as a child.
Did you discover the Goodwood Library here as a kid, or was it the school library?
When I was a kid here, they hadn't yet built the Goodwood Library,
I see.
but it was built.
But the Capitol had been built.
Absolutely, the downtown library. The Capitol had been built. You're trying to date me, Gus? What is this? Library kid, sure, you bet. When I devoured all the books at Goodwood Elementary, where I went to school, I would go to the library on the weekends. My mom would take me, check out 8-10 books at a time. Just read as much as I could read. I was a magnet for it.
The reason that I not only bring up the library, but reiterate it, for a kid who's inclined to want to write, the library that's about it for his start, at least down here, you know.
Well, it's where they store all those great adventures and tales and other worlds. It's the one place you can go and be anywhere at all in the universe, and that's what I enjoyed about it.
Now, is there a single literary craze back in history? Is there some genetic origin for you?
Cops and Exxon employees.
Cops
that's it.
And Exxon employees. Yeah. But cops, they do play a role in a lot of your writing. You write some awfully good mysteries.
I write crime novels. I wrote a lot of cop shows for television. I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by police work, by homicide investigators and things like that. I think most of us are. It's that, we get to peek through that pee hole into the dark side of human nature.
Sometimes just a mirror is enough. Now, did you attend LSU?
Yeah, I did.
But certainly not in writing.
No, I studied mechanical engineering. I never, it's funny. You're raised, you grow up, you're a kid and all the other kids, and certainly in my family, the whole goal, the whole point of an education, get a good job, get a paycheck. I never really was convinced that I could make a living writing. I always thought it would be a hobby, an avocation of mine. I don't think I took it seriously until probably I was in late teens, a senior in high school, college, and then the passion for it began to burn so brightly that I began to lose all reason, Gus.
And then what did you start writing? I mean, you had no education in it. What did you start? Poems, short stories, what?
Short stories.
Short stories.
All kind of category fiction, science fiction, fantasy, mystery and detective, short stories. I just would write anything that there was a market for. I would write it and submit it. I had 116 rejection letters before I sold my first story.
Wow. Kept on trucking, though, huh?
No choice.
No choice.
Had to do it.
Had to do it. I think that's why most writers write. Got to do it.
There's a demon inside you that wants out. I think, I make my living at it today. And I've been very blessed and fortunate with that, but if they stopped paying me tomorrow, I'd still write.
Okay, so you're in Baton Rouge, you're at LSU, you're studying mechanical engineering.
Yep.
Night times, spare time, short stories, sending them off.
Right.
Getting absolutely no encouragement. That's beyond the pale. They're returning
Too much to hope for.
That someone would say a kind word, for gosh sakes.
I actually had a form printed rejection letter come back to me one time, and the editorial reader had in the margin said, "This story is bad."
He timidly put you down. Should have had some verve, huh? So, okay, when do you decide to deport this place, Baton Rouge?
I sold a short story finally. I sold my first short story, got $50 for it, and you know what? I thought they made a mistake. It was my 117th submission, and I couldn't believe it. I absolutely thought that it was an error on somebody's part. I didn't really take it seriously. I was thrilled, of course. I was doing handsprings. I was so happy.
Imagine, right.
3 months later, I sold a second short story. And that's the one. I was a senior at LSU. I had one semester left to go. When I sold that second short story, I thought, maybe, just maybe, kid, you do have some talent, and you could really do this. I quit school then, and I went to L.A.
I want to say that if you were in LSU now, you probably would have had a much easier time of it, because LSU now has a really fine writing program with some big-time professionals on the faculty.
Terrific.
Yeah, so now a Robert Crais, there's somebody he can bring that short story to and not be laughed at or fear that he's going to, be kicked out of a window. So, Robert, why L.A.? Why not New York? You're going to be a writer?
Television. I was a fan of TV. I grew up loving 60s television. I wanted to be a part of that process, of that business. I also, because I read all the writers' magazines and I researched the business of being a writer, after I sold my first short story, like I said, $50. The second short story got $125. You don't have to be able to do higher level calculus to figure it's real tough to make a living doing that. And Hollywood pays well. So I thought, well, maybe I could go out there, and if I get real lucky, I can write 1 or 2 TV scripts a year and make my living from TV, and then continue to write short stories and maybe books one day. That was it. I figured Los Angeles is the place where they make television. Get out there and see what I could do.
Did you ever have, and this is meant with all respect because you're a success, literary aspirations?
No.
In other words, every Southerner, Thomas Wolfe, William Faulkner, Truman Capote, Tennessee Williams, but that was never your aspiration.
Well, it's all telling stories to me. Maybe I'm naive about the larger picture, but when the names of the people you cite, they're still just telling stories, and that's the way I see it all. I personally make no delineation between the likes of, for example, a Michael Connelly or an E. Annie Proulx, a Pam Houston or Tammy Hogue. A story is a story is a story. I want to write the most interesting and exciting stories I can, the best way I can, and if people perceive them as literary, great, and if they don't, I don't really care. What I do want to be perceived as someone who can involve you in another world, someone who can make you believe and show you some truth about something. Which
is literary. We think about those lofty aspirations from a writing standpoint. That a lot of that is very internal and must come out of us. That's not just jotting down limericks on a white page.
Well, it's more than just typing.
Yeah.
All writers cannibalize. Ross MacDonald, who's an idol of mine. I love his books, his fiction. There's a fabulous quote he made once. He said, "The footsteps of a writer's life track all through his work."
It's interesting.
If you write and you're writing fiction that you believe in, you're continually cannibalizing yourself. You're using the bits and pieces of your own life and your own experience and your own feelings. That's what makes the work on the page come to life. That's what allows other people, your readers, to relate to it. I think that's what we all do, or most of us try to do.
And then one day we run out of our lives. That is, We've cannibalized every existing piece of flesh, sinew, and then we've got to really get down to creating, don't we? Those folks on the page were not somebody that you knew at Goodwood. They're somebody out of Robert Crais' mind.
Yeah, but you know, I think as a writer lives his or her life, every time you have a new experience, you're feeding the fire. Hemingway used to liken it to sharpening a blade. When he was writing, the blade would go dull, and then he would finish a book, he would say, and he would have to go out and live some bit of life to sharpen the blade again, to apply the blade to the whetstone. I think that way for all writers. The more people you meet, we're just meeting right now.
Yes.
So we're interacting, and I'm picking up things from you, and you from me, and who
Don't
knows?
Make me the
who
villain,
knows,
for
Gus?
God's
Maybe.
sake. There was this rat named Gus. Walt Disney names all rats Gus. Robert, what did your folks, the family, think? My God, he's going to quit LSU. He's near getting a degree. The plant is hiring people right now. He's going to leave. What did they think?
They thought I was insane.
Of course.
Yeah, they thought I was insane. An absolute lunatic. Only a lunatic would do something. You're throwing away your future.
Of course.
It was hard on the home front for a long time.
But you went.
I went.
What was the early impressions of one young Robert Crais hating L.A.?
Big.
Big, huh?
It was big, huge, crowded, jammed with people. The day I arrived, I got there at rush hour. Wall-to-wall cars as far as you could see. But at the same time, beautiful. A huge, beautiful city. The oceans, the Pacific Ocean, the beaches, gorgeous. The mountains, the Santa Monica Mountains that run through there, absolutely breathtaking. I mean, here, where I grew up, it's flat. It's a gorgeous place, but everything's flat. Suddenly I was in an environment where things are vertical.
How about New York? How did that affect you? Because I'm sure you've spent
much time there now. Totally different experience. Vertical cement, no sky in New York. When you're on those streets, you're like you're in the bottom of caverns, canyons, and you're walking alone, and you can only see little strips of blue above your head. Everything else is cement walls all around.
And how quickly darkness comes on a fall day. Huh? That's the first thing that impressed me about New York.
Sun drops away.
It was 3 o'clock and the sun died.
I'll tell you something else I learned about Los Angeles, which impressed me. You mentioned how quickly darkness comes. In L.A., you get 2 chances at every day. Because in the canyons that surround L.A., it gets dark first, just like in New York.
Well, that's interesting.
But then if you leave the canyons, you go out in the flats, you can find the sun again.
Ah, be darned. I'd never heard that. Okay, Robert, so you're in L.A. Have you got a few contacts?
None. Didn't know anybody.
Nobody.
Didn't even know what a script looked like. Never seen a script. I learned what a script looked like by going to a secondhand bookstore and buying a couple of them for a couple of bucks. And then ran them through, measured everything. Oh, this is what a script page looks like. Look, This is how they write dialogue.
They double space.
They double space. They single space. They indent. That's how I learned how to look at a script. How to format a script on my typewriter. Back then we used typewriters.
And now, I still do. And now there's virtually nothing that you haven't written professionally. Screenplays, plays for television, certainly novels.
Right, movies of the week, miniseries, novels, short stories.
And you've been honored for it. The industry now recognizes you. And I was looking at the back of your new book, L.A. Requiem, and the writers who commented on your writing with great joy, Dean Koontz, Tony Hillerman. These are the real things. Sue Grafton, David Baldacci.
Yeah, those are real writers.
Yeah, those are the real ones. The only thing that would have bothered me about the title bothers me. Now, why?
Why?
Because that title makes me think of who? James Ellroy.
James Ellroy.
Am I right or wrong?
L.A. Confidential.
Yeah. I don't know. He's just... Not that he owns L.A., does he?
No, I do.
Or Requiem. You do.
I do.
Y'all can't both own it. Tell me about this.
He lives in Kansas.
Tell me about, you're on a book tour.
Yes.
Now, would you tell our friends what is a book tour?
A book tour, I'm doing 19 cities in just under 5 weeks. Some of those days I'll be in 3 cities on a single day. So other times I might be 2 or 3 days in a city. All day long is spent being interviewed, going in and out of bookstores, doing signings in the evening, a lot of local television, radio, print media. It's a way to get the word out about your book, and it's a wonderful way to meet your readers. Most writers hate the book tour. I actually am one of the very few who enjoy it. I consider it a blessing because I go to stores where people who've read my books or heard about them will line up, will meet me. I get to interact with them. Keep in mind, I'm a writer. So 11 months, 10 months out of the year, my life is confined to a single small room. I sit there with my Macintosh writing all day long. One time during the year, on my book tour time, I get to go out into the world, and it's like being reborn every time.
The truth is, I bet I can't think of anything you don't like about writing.
I love it.
I can tell.
I absolutely
That's very
love
unique. We've interviewed many writers, known some, and everybody's got a little downside. I'll be darned if I can find it. You will write as long as you breathe, quite obviously.
Absolutely, whether they pay me or not. You know, I'm one of the luckiest guys, and I realized this a long time ago. Most people don't get to do what they truly love. I'm one of the very few people who every day I get up, I get to do what I absolutely adore doing. What a blessing that is.
Isn't it? Have you made good friends in L.A.? You're so successful. I bet you have.
Yeah, a lot of friends.
A lot of friends.
Yeah, mostly writers, mostly other writers. The writing community in Los Angeles is large and very tightly knit. A lot of mystery writers and crime writers there, and because we do the same things and know the same people, they end up being my social circle.
How did you go about getting an agent?
I actually went to the Writers Guild of America, which is the TV and movie writers union, and they produce a list of all the agencies who've signed their working agreement. I just started at the top of the list in the A's, calling every agency cold, saying, "Hey, I'm this kid from Baton Rouge, and I have scripts. Would you read
right
them?"
Over, of course.
It didn't quite happen that easily.
Wow. We're waiting.
Yeah, we're waiting. But I got into the G's, and I found a guy who I didn't know him. Just some name on a page. But he said, okay, if you get a script, you finish a script, I'll take a look at it. And I finished the script, and darn if he didn't take a look at it. Just my luck. He was a good agent. He was an honest man, a good, honorable man. By that time, I'd written a couple of scripts, and he represented me, and pretty soon I had one sold.
That is a remarkable story. You're a man, obviously, of tremendous talent, but I'll tell you, perhaps a talent that you possess equal to your creative ability, you're going to wear the opposition down. In other words, you were just on G in that list. There's a whole lot more letters to go, aren't there?
There sure are.
I bet there's a lot of folks cussing themselves that they weren't higher up in the alphabet.
I'll tell you what, my first book, I sold in, I believe it was 1986. And when we were submitting the first novel around, it was rejected 9 times before I finally sold it. On this tour, I was in Corte Madera, California at a writers' conference that was very well attended. A lot of very successful authors, New York editors, and all this other stuff. And there was an editor there from Warner Books. And I noticed she had been looking at me, and I saw her name. I didn't recognize her at first, and then I saw her name, and the name rang a bell. So the whole time, she's kind of looking at me. Finally, the last day of the conference, I'm getting ready to leave. I'm walking out, and she's walking in. She says, "Bob, I don't know if you know who I am." And when she said that, I knew, and I said, "I know who you are." She said, "I was the very first person your novel was submitted to, and I turned it down."
Good Lord.
And I said, I knew that, but I don't hold it against you. That book is now in its 15th printing.
Oh, my.
And she really feels badly for having turned it down.
You never met the rat who wrote in the space, huh?
No.
This is bad.
No. No. I look forward to that day, though.
There is a heroism about creative people. For example, particularly in your beginning years. Heck, man, when you get turned down, rejected, that's you being rejected.
Yeah, it is.
Those people on that page don't exist. There's no chance of running into them any place. That's Robert Crais on that page, which you, of course, said a few moments ago.
It's all your hopes and dreams on that page. It's everything you want. is on that page. And, you know, now I'm a pro, I'm veteran, I got a lot of scar tissue. It's different. Certainly when you're starting out, certainly if you're young and starting out, they hurt. It hurts to be turned down.
But you know, if you're going to do it, a guy like you, there's no way to stop you. I mean, you're going to just keep on. As I say, you'll wear them down.
You know, it's like when you asked me about going to L.A. There's no choice. If you really want it that badly, I don't care if it's writing, you know, any dream you're pursuing. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to start a business, if you're an actor, you want to be an actor. If you're burning, if something inside you is screaming to do it, you can't deny that. You just keep going at it. You keep going.
I liken it to pregnancy. Finally, there is that time when, like an animal, you will crawl into some dark place and produce that which is in you.
Well, yeah, you give it birth. Believe me, having a book is like having a baby.
How long did it take you to write L.A. Requiem?
13 months.
Rewrites everything.
Everything.
Now, do you ever suffer from block or
Don't believe in it.
Don't believe in it?
Don't believe in writer's block. I believe in bad days, but I don't believe in writer's block. And I have lots of bad days.
James Burke, who's a fellow Louisiana.
James Lee Burke.
And whom I've had
brilliant
pleasure
writer, wonderful writer.
Wonderful writer.
Yeah.
Went about 14 years not being able to sell anything.
Yeah.
And it affected him horribly. He now,
sure.
is, of course, just, you know, has a magnificent career. But he went 14 years where nothing sold.
Yeah.
Hell of a man. Kept on writing. Picked up a lot of scars, though.
Yeah.
Where do you get your plot ideas?
Out of the characters. The characters always come first for me. I'm a character writer. Invariably, the characters come, again, bits and pieces of myself and the people around me, my life experience. There'll be a person with a problem. L.A. Requiem, I knew in my imagination there was a young woman who was murdered, and I wanted to investigate her homicide. She had been lovers with one of my main characters. I wanted to get inside those people, inside their hearts. That's what drives all my stories.
Now, I'm going to ask you a far-out question, but I'm a fair judge of realities. Mm-hmm. Have you ever acted or had offers to act?
I've had offers to act, but I'm not an actor.
You look like an actor. You know, if I was going to have a private eye, a gumshoe, whatever, Robert Crais could read for it.
Third lead on a soap opera.
I don't know if I'd want that. Robert, what will you write next?
The next book is my first that's not an Elvis Cole, Joe Pike novel. Mm-hmm. I'm writing about a bomb investigator with LAPD's bomb squad. And it's a fascinating world that actually I was introduced through researching L.A. Requiem. But I've ended up spending a lot of time with LAPD's bomb squad and with the detectives who are bomb investigators. And I fell in love with the technology and the danger of their profession. So I'm writing about that next.
That must be fun to ride with those guys, huh?
It's one of the great things that I get to do in my job. I've been on over 20 ride-alongs with LAPD. I've been out with Secret Service, FBI, and ATF. Even if I wasn't writing, I would love to do that.
They earn their living, don't they?
Yeah, they do. It's a tough job.
Robert, what are your writing habits? Like how many? When you're off this tour, will you take a rest?
No rest for the wicked, Gus.
The wicked.
I'm very businesslike, a very, very disciplined person. I have set hours. I work those hours every day.
Would you mind telling us what are your hours to write?
My hours to write in the first half of a book go from about 7:30 in the morning to 3 or 4 in the evening.
And that's absolute, huh?
Absolute.
That can't be deviated from.
No, it's absolute. It's you know, I think if you're a professional writer, you have to do this. It's a job. You know, if I was working for Exxon and I wanted to goof off in the afternoon, I couldn't just leave the plant or the office and go goof off. You have to be there.
Got to do it.
Ditto writing. Last half of a book, when I like to say I get into deadline hell.
Yeah.
Those hours expand considerably. I'll go from 7:30 in the morning. I'll do a 12 or sometimes a 14-hour day.
My God, son, if anybody would have ever told you when you were writing those old short stories here that somebody would be pressing for you to get through, so that you can get on to the next one, you'd have said, bah humbug.
I wouldn't have believed it.
Where can people find out more about Robert Crais? What's the site? Is there a website?
There's a website, robertcrais.com, all one word, no gap between it. And on that site, there's biographical information. There's a complete bibliography, including everything I've ever written for television. Photographs. There are going to be photographs of the current book tour. It's just a lot of interesting, fun stuff.
Well, you're a delightful young man, and obviously you haven't even come any place near the heights that you'll scale for two reasons. First, obviously you're talented, but second, I really can't think of what could get in your way and stop you. You are the real McCoy. The bug bit you, and it ain't going to let go, is it?
I'm infected, Gus.
Robert, welcome home.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
Louisiana Legends is made possible by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana. This important program series enables us to discover, through the accomplishments of our fellow Louisianians, the unique character of a state so proudly served by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana for 65 years.
For a copy of this program, call 1-800-973-7246 or send $19.95 to Louisiana Legends, care of LPB, 7733 Perkins Road, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70810. Please allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery.